Good morning, fourth grade. Hopefully, everybody had a great long weekend and you're ready to start back up with math. Okay, we're going to be starting now back in our books. I believe it's page 929. Let's see where you can find those notes at. You're in your Google Classroom. Go over here to classwork. Scroll down here to chapter 12 because we're still in chapter 12. And we're going to be going with 12-5. Here are the completed notes. 12-5, classifying quadrilaterals. So let's see what we have here so far. So classifying quadrilaterals. As you remember, a quadrilateral has four sides. We're dealing with any figure that has four sides. It says you can classify quadrilaterals using one or more attribute like congruent sides, parallel sides, and right angles. So let's take a look here. Tria. Cut out polygon mats to use for her travel photos. Use the figure below to determine the missing attributes of each type of quadrilateral. Okay, so we're dealing with here quadrilaterals here. So let's start here with the trapezoid. Okay, it says a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with exactly what? One pair of parallel sides. So if we take a look here, this side here is going to be parallel to that side there. That means they are parallel. These sides over here are not because it only has one set of parallel lines. Okay, if we go over here, yes, we do know this is a quadrilateral, which means it has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Let's go over here to a parallelogram. That's this shape here. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with the opposite sides congruent and parallel. That means this side is parallel to this side. It also means, hey, these are exactly the same size here. Now, the other sides, the other opposite sides, this side here is parallel to this side here, and they also have the same lengths that are the opposite. These sides have the same length. This side has the same length as this side, and this side has the same length as this side. And we know the opposite sides are also parallel. Okay, let's continue on down here. Let's go to a rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram with four right angles. Okay, now, one thing it does not say here with a rectangle is that the opposite sides are congruent also. So this side is congruent with this side, which means they are the same length. And this side here, put a double tick, and this side here are also congruent. So the opposite sides are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent, and they also have right angles, four right angles. Let's go over here to the square next. It says parallelogram with four congruent sides. Let's see what's something underneath here too. And four right angles. So basically what we are saying here is this side, this side, this side, and this side are all congruent. Four congruent sides and four congruent angles that are all right angles, which means that's 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees, and that is 90 degrees. Let's go over here now to the rhombus. Okay, a rhombus is also a parallelogram with four congruent sides. That means, hey, this is congruent, this is congruent, this is congruent, that's congruent. All four of these sides are congruent. But why is it not a square? Because it does not have four right angles. Very good. These are not right angles, which that is what makes it different from a square. So let's continue on down here. It says a square has all the attributes of a rectangle and a rhombus and a parallelogram. So we could say a square is a rectangle, a square is a rhombus. A square is also a parallelogram. But a rectangle is not a square. A rhombus is not a square. And a parallelogram is not a square. So there's different ways to look at this. But I can say this, though. I can say, hey, a parallelogram is a rhombus. Okay? And I can go back and forth here. So there's different ways to look at all this stuff here. So let's continue on down here. It says, example 2. One side of the Real building in Madrid, Spain is shown at the right. Describe the attributes of the quadrilateral. Okay. Then classify it based on its attributes. So it says the quadrilateral has opposite sides. We're talking about this right here. The opposite sides are congruent. This side here is congruent with this side, and this side here is congruent with that side. So that's good to know there. And it says they are parallel. This side here is parallel to this side here, and this side here is parallel to that side there. So what do we get here? Yes, you are right. This is a parallelogram. Very, very good. Okay. Let's take a look here. It says, describe the attributes of the quadrilateral, then classify the quadrilateral based on its attributes. Well, let's see here. As we take a look here, this side here looks like it's congruent to this side. And this side here looks like it's congruent to this side here. And it says we have these are 90-degree angles here, 90-degree there, 90-degree there, 90-degree there, 90-degree there. These here are also parallel. Okay, and then these are parallel here. These are parallel here. Okay, so it says the opposite sides of the quadrilateral are congruent. That's what we have there. And they are parallel. There are 4 right angles. So we have all those pieces. So this quadrilateral must be a rectangle. Very, very good. Okay, let's continue on here. Let's see what we have here. It says, the design below is made up of a repeating quadrilateral. Describe the attributes of the quadrilateral, then describe the quadrilateral based on the attributes. Okay, so we take a look here. The quadrilateral has blank congruent sides. Well, if we take a look, let's just take this one here. This side here, and this side here, and this side here, and that side there. They're all congruent. So right now, they also look like they're parallel too. So right now it's between a square and a rhombus. But why is this not a square? It's not a square because it does not have right angles. Very good. No right angles with it. Since it does not have right angles, that makes it a rhombus. Very good. Okay, let's continue on to the next page here. Okay, if you want to try these independent practices on your own, go for it. Stop the video and then come back and check your answers. Okay, here we go. It says, describe the attributes of this quadrilateral, then classify it. Okay, so if we look here, opposite sides, yes, are congruent. So this side here is congruent with that side. This side here is congruent with that side. So opposite sides are congruent. It looks like these are also parallel. This whole side here is parallel to this side. This whole side is parallel to this side. Okay, so right now it's either going to be a rectangle or a parallelogram. Well, it has to be a parallelogram. Why? Because in a rectangle, we need 4 right angles. This does not have 4 right angles, so that's what makes this a parallelogram. Let's look here at this next one here, number 4. This side, this side, this side. It looks like all 4 sides are congruent. Okay, sounds like either a square or a rhombus. It has to be a rhombus because it does not have 4 right angles. So very good. That's why they say the opposite sides are parallel. That's why we're not saying they have right angles. So that is why it is a rhombus. Okay, here we go here. It says, circle the quadrilaterals that have all the attributes of a parallelogram. Okay, so all the attributes of a parallelogram. Well, right here, a parallelogram. If we go back up here, take a look and see, what does it say about a parallelogram? Quadrilateral, opposite sides are congruent and parallel. Okay, let's go back over here. Opposite sides are congruent and parallel. In a rectangle, the opposite sides congruent. Yes. Are the opposite sides parallel? Yes. That works. So a rectangle does work. Let's look at a rhombus. A rhombus, are the opposite sides congruent? Yes. Are the opposite sides parallel? Yes. That works. Let's try a square now. Are the opposite sides congruent? Yes. Are the opposite sides parallel? Yes. That works. Okay, let's try a trapezoid. Are the opposite sides congruent? No. Are the opposite sides parallel? Well, we have 1 set of parallel lines. We do not have 2 sets, okay? Because we only have 1 set of parallel lines. That is not like a parallelogram. So we would say no to that. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Circle the quadrilaterals that have all the same attributes as a rhombus. Okay, so let's take a look at a rhombus. Okay, does a rectangle have all the same sides? Are equal? Are they all congruent? Nope. Let's skip the square. Let's go with a trapezoid. Are all the sides the same size? Nope. Next one, in a parallelogram, are all the sides the same size? They can be, but they don't have to be. So it's not a parallelogram. So let's take a look at a square. Are all sides the same? Yes. Are all sides parallel? Yes. So it has to be a square. Very good here. Let's look here at the next one. It says, state whether the following statements are true or false. If false, explain why. 7, all parallelograms have opposite sides, congruent and parallel. So far, that's true. Since rectangles are parallelograms, all rectangles have opposite sides, congruent and parallel. Yes, that is true. So all the sides, all the opposite sides are congruent. Yes. And all the opposite sides are parallel in a rectangle. And yes, that is true. Look here at number 8. All squares have 4 congruent sides. Okay. Since rectangles are squares, all rectangles have 4 congruent sides. No. A rectangle is not a square. A square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle cannot be a square. Okay, because in a rectangle, only the opposite sides are congruent, okay? Not all 4 sides. So that's why. So it says a rectangle is not necessarily a square because rectangles do not have 4 congruent sides. So that's why there. Last page. Here we go here. Page 932. It says, identify the structure. Okay, many aircraft display the shape of the American flag as shown below to indicate motion. Okay, classify the quadrilateral. As you can see here, opposite sides are congruent. This is congruent to this side. This is congruent to this side. They are also parallel. This side's parallel to this side, and this side's parallel to this side. So what attributes is that? Classify this quadrilateral as a parallelogram. Okay. Adrena used a quadrilateral in her art design. The quadrilateral has no sides congruent, okay? And only one pair of opposite sides that are parallel. Okay, think about what we talked about in the beginning. Classify the shape of the quadrilateral she used. Okay, so basically all that we're saying with this is it only has one set of parallel lines. And the only shape that we're talking about here that has one set of parallel lines is a trapezoid. Okay, let's continue on. Last couple here. We got about 3 more. Tracy planted 2 tomato gardens. One garden is a rectangle. The shape of the second garden has all attributes of a rectangular garden. In addition, it has 4 congruent sides. Classify the shape of the second tomato garden. Explain. Has to be a square. Why? Because all the sides are the same and it must have the right angles, okay? The right angles also. So it's a square. The garden is a quadrilateral with 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. Okay, let's continue. Number 12, draw a parallelogram that is neither a square, rhombus, nor rectangle. Explain how you determined your parallelogram. The parallelogram does not have right angles or 4 congruent sides. Okay, so that's how we would draw that one. Number 13, classify. Okay, how do I classify quadrilaterals using their attributes? Include real world examples. So it says use attributes such as congruent sides, parallel sides, or right angles. So a lot of the buildings that we look at are quadrilaterals. They typically have 4 sides, and we're dealing a lot with right angles because right angles are very strong. So guys, other than that, hopefully you got a chance to understand how we classify quadrilaterals. If you're not sure, please rewatch the video and go over the information once again. If you're still confused, please feel free to email me. Other than that, guys, you can get started on your homework now, or you can wait until tomorrow. It's pretty easy, just classifying some quadrilaterals. But other than that, guys, have a great day and enjoy your day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.